overcoming poverty, burning off stress, paying attention with ADHD, building a career, beating a painful genetic disorder. After 13 years of helping others do the same, fitness became a foundation for my life's greatest gift and challenge, becoming a father. My name's Alex Van Houten, and I believe that what I eat, how I move, and what habits I live by are the rock upon which I build my physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being. And whatever I do will rub off on my kids and my community. Welcome to Defining Dad Bod, where we work to untangle the messy knots of the health and fitness industry as if your children's lives depended on it. Because they do. This is where we decide to make our bodies stand for something bigger than ourselves. This is where we find practical wisdom to live by, one powerful conversation at a time. May the words spoken here inspire you to keep moving forward no matter where you are. Who knows who you could be if you could become 1% better every single day.
We can do the show thanks to the support of listeners just like you. For more information how you can become part of the inner circle, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle. That's definingdadbod.com/inner circle.
What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing super well. Today is part one of a two-part series that I promise is going to shatter the way that you think about nutrition and exercise, and I hope help you to construct an amazing structure that's different and even more powerful than what you thought about nutrition and exercise before. This series is called Beyond Calories. And here in part one, we're going to talk about the problem of the equation of thermodynamics of weight loss, calories in versus calories out. And I'm going to talk you through today why your food is more than just calories in, and why your exercise is more than just calories out. And then, therefore, the fundamental reason why the food companies, the fitness industry, the legislators, and yes, even your favorite fitness trainer to follow on social media is missing this mark horribly, and it's time to evolve our understanding. And in part two of Beyond Calories, I'm going to take some time to take apart how we measure calories, and why even if you counted every single calorie that you ate and every single calorie that you burned, painstakingly tracking, painstakingly measuring, you would still likely be 20 to 50% inaccurate in your calculations. And it's not your fault. There's a deep history around where calories come from and how we measure them that I can't wait to talk to you about in part two. I hope you're ready to welcome a paradigm shift, because I've got one coming at you. Before we get there, two pieces of housekeeping. The first is, if you aren't a member already, we've opened the Defining Dad Bod Inner Circle to anybody who wants to be a part of the discussion and the engagement with the Defining Dad Bod community. It used to be a patrons-only group, and while many people in the group still choose to support Defining Dad Bod by pledging their financial support for the movement, it's not a requirement. You can get more information about that at definingdadbod.com/inner circle. I go live every Friday to give some exclusive content and to help you while taking your questions and answers about that content. Last week, I went live to talk about the effects of strength training on testosterone and estrogen balance, and to talk about how we construct our personal workouts in order to get the best hormonal response out of ourselves. My goal is to give you the same practical tools you would get if you went to get certified as a personal trainer or certified as a nutritionist. And furthermore, educational studies show that if you'll join me for the live portion of the Q&A, you actually retain up to 25% of what's spoken about, as opposed to a lecture format, wherein you'll only retain about 4% about what's spoken about. Again, you can jump in at definingdadbod.com/inner circle. My second piece of housekeeping is a quick announcement about our 100th episode coming out in just a couple short weeks. Believe it or not, Defining Dad Bod is about to publish our 100th episode. I couldn't be more proud and more excited to do so. It's been quite the journey. Since I started this show in October of 2017, I began the conversations on Defining Dad Bod as an exploration from me and other people who might be helped by the conversations that fathers are having about fitness and nutrition. What I found, however, is that as I covered more and more topics and had more and more guests involved on the show, I stumbled on some rifts in the health and fitness community, or some gaps in practice and knowledge. that really need to be uncovered and explored. It became quickly apparent to me that the dad bod thing was not just about the biological changes that happen when you have children, and the health and fitness tips and tricks that we could use in order to shore up those hormonal difficulties, but it became more about a philosophy of establishing a base level of positive and powerful exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle habits so that we could be the best version of ourselves while we're influencing our family, our community, and even our workspace. Let's face it, the healthiest version of you is a better parent than you are now. The healthiest version of you is a better worker than you are now. The healthiest version of you is a better you than you are right now. And no matter where you are in your health and fitness journey, there's always something that we could be doing to be better. There's always something we could be doing to unlock a better version of ourselves from our own genetics. There's always something we could be doing to evolve our mindset and our belief system, which actually seems to impact us even more than our own genetics. And there's always something we could be doing in order to be more intentional and purposeful about the things that we're putting into our body and the example that we're setting for our kids and our community. So in the 100th episode of Defining Dad Bod, I'm going to review the top 10 episodes of Defining Dad Bod. We're currently rank ordering the top 10 episodes by views and downloads, and then remastering those episodes so that you can go back and check them out. And if you're new to the show, it'll give you an understanding and opportunity of how to best spend your time if you want to explore the past work of Defining Dad Bod. It's going to be a lot of fun. There will be some Easter eggs. I hope to see you there. And now with the housekeeping out of the way, let's get to Beyond Calories, Part 1. Why food is more than calories in, and exercise is more than calories out. What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. This is going to be a show to end all shows. I'm just kidding. I'm not ending any shows anytime soon. But today we are starting Beyond Calories Part 1. And I hope to shake the foundations of the health and fitness community by challenging the notion that somehow we need to eat less and exercise more if we want to be more fit and healthy. Now, if you've been following our movement for a while, you've caught podcasts, you've seen me on videos, you've seen social media posts that already challenge this fundamental question. But today, I'm going to take the time to lay it out for you, what the difference is in why, philosophically and practically speaking, your food is more than calories in and your exercise is more than calories out. We're going to talk about unlocking the best version of you and building a version of yourself that you can be proud of and excited about. That's better than the one that's listening to this show right now, and it's going to be beyond calories. So get excited. First, in order to understand why I'm even talking about this, you need to understand thermodynamics. Don't worry, I won't be too complicated about it. But in the time that we've been working really hard to lose weight, stave off diabetes, keep from obesity for cardiovascular disease reasons, we've taken well over $100 billion to come to the conclusion that we as a population would be more healthy if we could just balance our energy equation. What's the energy equation? Well, in thermodynamics, you have to balance the energy entered into a system versus the energy that exits a system. Or in layman's terms, calories in needs to be balanced with calories out. Today, I'm going to take apart both sides of that equation and talk about why the food that you eat constitutes way more than just the calories that it's made out of. And we're going to talk about the exercise portion and how exercise does something deeper than just burn off energy as well. Let me be clear here. Alex is not going to argue with thermodynamics. You really can't argue with the laws of thermodynamics. And unlike many trainers, dietitians, nutritionists, and even doctors out there, I actually took thermodynamics as an engineering undergraduate. I got a B+ at Vanderbilt University, if you care to check into it. Actually, as an engineering nerd, you know what really grinds my gears? Next time somebody talks to you about the calories in versus calories out equation, ask them how they're accounting for entropy and how you as an individual might be able to mitigate the generation of disorder in your meal plan. That'll shut them up. So let's talk about this equation. Calories in versus calories out. What does that even mean? Well, people tend to think about it as drawing a box around themselves and putting an arrow in called calories in and an arrow out called calories out. And somehow we need to balance the energy coming in versus the energy coming out. And we can do that by counting the calories that we eat, and then measuring the calories that we expend through exercise and activity and then a resting metabolic rate. And then we can balance that, creating a deficit if we'd like to lose some mass, and then creating a surplus if we'd like to gain some mass. Or if you're particularly happy with your body composition, which sometimes seems to be nobody I've ever met, then you're seeking to balance the equation. Calories in equaling calories out. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Like if I was a bathtub and I wanted to have less water in the bathtub, then I would need to open the drain further than the amount of water running in. Or if I wanted more water in the bathtub, I would just turn the faucet on higher and stop up the drain a little bit, and then the water level would rise, right? Isn't that how the body works? Well, actually, no, it's not that simple, and I've taken some time in previous episodes of the show to talk about how a biological system maintains homeostasis very differently from a mathematical system, like a bathtub with a box drawn around it, wherein no reactions happen. What am I trying to say? Your body is way more complicated than a bathtub. But I've already made that point in probably like 12 episodes in the show. If that's interesting to you, I encourage you to check out our Overcoming Obesity series. That begins at episode 29 of the show. But today, I promised you that I would go beyond calories. Not just arguing that the body's more complicated than a bathtub or a water heater, but that thermodynamics, the energy equation, calories in versus calories out, doesn't even begin to describe the most important process that our nutrition plays in building a better version of you. And then when I'm done with the calories in portion in nutrition, I'm going to talk about the calories out portion and how the energy equation does not even begin to describe the powerful effects that exercise has on the body that go beyond energy expenditure, even down to changing you at the level of your DNA. So here we go. In order to understand how nutrition is beyond calories, it's important that you understand two fundamental things about how your body processes, digests, and uses the food that you're putting in your face. The first thing you need to know is that your food is way more than just calories. Do you know how they measure calories? There's actually a few problems with how they measure calories, and we're going to talk about that in part 2 of this series. But for now, you just need to know that the way we measure calories is we take this apparatus called a bomb calorimeter. We place the food in question that we would like to know the energy composition of, and then we catch it on fire. Boom! Bomb calorimeter. That's a combustion reaction, which is a fuel plus oxygen yielding carbon dioxide, water, and heat energy. The amount of heat energy given off by the combustion of the food is then measured, and then that food is labeled with the number of calories, that is, heat energy given off, in the combustion reaction. That's great. Calories are a measure of the amount of heat energy trapped in the chemical composition of our food. Fantastic. But what about the micronutrients in that food? What about the DNA material of that food? And what about the quality of things like the fatty acids or the proteins in that food that isn't going to be burned by the body, but instead utilized to build cells, to build tissues, to build enzymes, to nurture brain function via neurotransmitters, or to support your hormonal system through the construction of large molecules? Here's an interesting example. There are studies out there that look at the composition of fatty acids in different food groups. Some fatty acids are long-chain fatty acids. They're flexible, malleable, and not very easily damaged. And then there are fatty acids that we consume that are short, rigid, and very easy to damage. Do you know one of the ways that fatty acids are used in your body? I'll give you a hint. Your body does not introduce a torch to the fatty acids in order to burn them in a combustion reaction and release their energy. Instead, once the fatty acids enter the bloodstream, the body uses the fatty acids to build things like new cell membranes in new muscle cells, or new cell membranes in new brain cells. So when we look at going beyond calories, the question becomes, what other properties does your food possess that goes beyond the energy released when that food is burned? Because your body's not just using your food as fuel. Your body uses your food to build itself, one brick at a time. I remember the old saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. And people tend to think of that as meaning garbage versions of energy coming in means you're going to have garbage energy output. But I would challenge that and it probably won't catch on because it's not quite as catchy a turn of phrase, but instead I would like you to think garbage in, garbage you. So that's the first challenge, the first thing you need to know in order to begin thinking about your food beyond what's constituted in its combustion in a bomb calorimeter. Your body doesn't just burn food. It uses the DNA material, the micronutrients, the fatty acids, the protein composition to build you. And so that brings me to the next thing, number 2, that you need to know in order to think bigger beyond the calories that you're eating. And that's this. There's a little talked about scientific fact that describes the turnover of molecules in our body from year to year. And though the estimations vary, it could be every 3 years, it could be every 5 years, or maybe even up to every 7 years. There is a consensus among physicists, biologists, and chemists that at a certain point in the near future, literally every molecule of what makes up you right now is going to be different. I'll say that again. At some point in the near future, it could be 3 years from now, it could be 5 years from now, maybe 7 years from now. That person, that version of you, will literally have every single molecule in the body different from every single molecule that you have right now. Molecules make up your cells, cells make up your tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems, and organ systems make up you. Hold your finger out in front of you if you can right now and look at it. The molecules that make up that one finger in 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 years, are going to be completely different. You will literally have a whole new finger that you've built for yourself. The cells in your fingernail will be different. The cells in your fingertip will be different. The cells making up the blood that's flowing through the finger will be different. The cells that make up the fatty tissue at the base of the joint, and even the cells that make up the cartilage and the bone will be completely different. So the thing you have to understand and the thing you have to ask yourself about the nutrition that you're consuming regularly is, what is your body going to make the new you out of? And this is where the question of beyond calories becomes of infinite importance. If I held out to you 100 calories of spinach in one hand and 100 calories of Skittles in the other, by the thermodynamics equation, calories in versus calories out, these two food groups are completely equal. In energy expenditure, when you combust 100 calories of spinach, you get exactly 100 calories of heat given off by the spinach. Similarly, with the 100 calories of Skittles. But if you look at those options, 100 calories of Skittles and 100 calories of spinach, and you say, which one of those materials will build a higher quality person over the next 3 to 5 years, then instantly you know that there's way more to the process of choosing your nutritional intake than just the energy expenditure. Imagine if you were building a house. Workers would come in every day, work hard, and then leave. Would you care about how many calories they ate versus how many calories they burned while they worked on your house? Wouldn't you be more interested in the house that they were actually building for you? When you drove up to the job site, would you be interested in how many calories they burned by walking, or how many calories they burned by hammering in nails, or how many calories they ate with their hot dogs at lunchtime? Or would you be inspecting the quality of their work and the materials that they were actually using to build your house out of? I mean, theoretically, wouldn't workers be able to build a much better house out of bricks and top-grade wood and great hardware than they could out of, let's say, mud or straw? If you could count the calories taken in and burned by workers who are using mud and straw versus the workers who are using bricks and top-grade wood to build your house, they could even be equal in energy expenditure. But would they build the same quality house? By this line of thinking, when you look in the mirror and you say, I'm a little fatter than I'd like to be, or I have a little less muscle than I would like to have, it's the same idea as driving up to the job site of the people building the house for you. If you're unhappy with the house that they're building, you wouldn't manage their energy expenditure. You wouldn't work really hard to make sure that they were using the same amount of energy or more than they were eating on their lunch break. Instead, you would begin to manage the quality of their labor and the quality of the material they were using. If you don't want a mud and straw house, it's time to switch to bricks and top-grade wood. And so here's the rub. That's what your food is like. It's like building a new house, literally a completely new you, every 3, 5, or 7 years, depending on the estimate that you're going to take. So right now I'm asking you to look into the future and to picture the person that you'd like to be. What's the best version of you that you can think of? Go ahead, take a second. I'll wait. Okay, I'm not really that patient, but the point is, you need to picture the person that you would like to be building yourself to be. And then the deeper question is, using that picture, ask yourself, what is that person built out of? What are the pieces, brick by brick, that were used to put that person together? Unfortunately, I can't answer that for you, but I can say that you will build a much higher quality version of you out of spinach than you will out of Skittles, regardless of the calorie count. A salmon fillet and a baked sweet potato is going to build a much higher quality version of you than pizza and Coke, even if the calories are the same number. And in that way, the old saying, "You are what you eat," is a saying that I'd like to bring back. And yeah, I get it. There are obstacles. There are obstacles of convenience. There are obstacles of finance. There are obstacles of personal taste. Maybe the person that you've built yourself into right now craves the wrong stuff on a regular basis. And that's hard. I'm not sidestepping that. But I will argue that counting your calories is not the answer to building a better you. So next time you entertain the thought of eating a Big Mac or going to the gas station for donuts, ask yourself if the convenience of your snack is worth putting a muddy brick into the version of you that you're trying to build. Sometimes it might be better to be hungry instead, or to deal with the number of other eating cues that people deal with in a more constructive manner. Maybe you need a glass of water and to go for a walk for the anxiety that you're feeling, rather than eating a honey bun. And little changes like this can be an amazingly powerful part of a new construction project. That is, building a better you. Ask yourself regularly when you look at the food options you have in front of you, is there a better option? Is there any better building material around? Is it time to get rid of the subpar stuff in my house and upgrade? When I work with clients here at Defining Dad Bod, I find myself referencing food quality and composition way more often than I do the caloric value of foods. As a coach, I'm far less interested in the heat energy given off by your diet when you burn it in a bomb calorimeter, and much more interested in what kind of organism you're building every time you put something in your face. And it's for this reason that in the Defining Dad Bod 1-week trial, I ask you to keep a food journal and send it to me. I'll even say, I really don't care about the calories. Just write everything down that you've eaten. And every single day if you do that, this raises your awareness around what you're actually eating. And it shows me opportunities in your day to begin helping you to choose better building material. And I'm not going to lie, it's a process. But remember, it's not a simple math equation. Calories in versus calories out. It's the process of building a new and better you out of higher quality materials. Quick side note, there is a big challenge to this way of doing things. Sure, it's simple to look at your food and ask yourself, is this the sort of thing I want to build myself out of? But it can get pretty complicated to understand what high quality means in terms of what food is actually worth eating. Today I've used the obvious example of spinach versus Skittles, or salmon and sweet potatoes versus pizza and Coke. But when you throw in personal tastes, willpower struggles, genetic differences, time constraints, convenience factors, and even social situations like family preferences, you'll find that just like building a house, you might want some professional help in the building process to make the right choices for you. If the time comes that you make that decision, I hope you'll consider reaching out. In fact, instead of a nutritionist, just call me a general contractor, helping my clients build high-quality bodies out of great materials they ingest. Yeah, that probably won't catch on in the fitness community, but I can try. So that's the first side of the energy balance equation. I hope I've challenged your understanding of nutrition and really the message of the whole fitness industry right now, that the calories in portion of the health and fitness equation is inadequate, that your food is more than calories, and that you really have to make a decision outside of energy expenditure altogether to ask yourself, what kind of quality person do you want to build yourself to be in the next 3 to 7 years? It's your house. Are you going to use bricks? Are you going to use some good upgraded wood? Or are you going to use mud and straw? And now that we've taken time to shift that paradigm, let's go to the other side of the energy balance equation, calories out. So in terms of exercise, what does the thermodynamics equation say about making you more healthy and more fit in order to balance calories? while on the nutrition side, it says to eat less. And we've just talked about why that's an insufficient way to look at our nutrition. On the exercise side, we're told to exercise more. That more exercise is going to help us to balance this thermodynamics energy expenditure equation to make us more healthy and more fit. So let's talk about if that's a sufficient view of exercise. Spoiler alert, no. Much like the house analogy, we've got this all wrong as well. And much like the nutrition aspect, I've boiled this down to 2 things you need to know about exercise in order to understand why exercise as a part of the calories out equation is so much more than energy expenditure. First, here's a brutal fact. Exercise is actually a very, very small part of the calories outside of the caloric burn equation. You heard me. Exercise doesn't actually burn that many calories. I talked about this recently in episode 90, a show titled 6 Things Going Horribly Wrong in the Fitness Industry. And I use burpees as a good point of comparison. Can you do 100 burpees? I know. The question of can I do 100 burpees and should I do 100 burpees are 2 different questions, both from a physical training perspective and a psychological well-being perspective. I did 100 burpees just to make a good argument, and I did it with an indirect calorimetry apparatus on my face, which let me measure exactly how many calories I burned doing 100 burpees. For the record, it took me 6.5 minutes, and it burned 60 calories. It was very hard, and after about 20 burpees, I definitely hated every second of it. Fun fact, I burned more calories running for 6.5 minutes than I burned doing 100 burpees in 6.5 minutes. And since I enjoy running more, I'm likely going to pick that modality if I'm interested in, quote, burning calories. But you'll notice 60 calories is not that much. 100 burpees is a lot of work, and sure, I guess I could do that for a whole hour, and then I would burn 600 calories. But let's get a few things straight here. First, if your goal is fat loss, and you're using exercise to balance the energy expenditure equation, then 2 things need to happen. 1, you need to burn enough calories in order to burn fat. Do you know how many calories is in a pound of fat? 3,500. So if I did burpees for 1 hour at the intensity that I did 100 burpees, I would have to do that at least 6 times. That's 6 hours of burpees this week in order to burn 1 pound of fat with my exercise on the energy expenditure side of things. Now, I don't care who you are. That's brutal. Not only is it brutal, I'm a parent. I've got things to do. That's unrealistic from a time perspective. I can do way better things with my life than 6 hours of burpees. It might surprise you to know that I work out on average between 6 and 8 hours total per week. People think that personal trainers work out more than that. And maybe in my college years that was a thing, but that's just not realistic nowadays. And so it's important to me that I use exercise in the most efficient way possible to reach my goals. That I use exercise to create adaptations that are positive and good for my body. And I promise you that doing 6 hours of burpees in a week if I want to lose a pound of fat is not only unrealistic, but it's detrimental, since exercise burns only a very small amount of calories. And then things get even more complicated when you look at the breakdown between how many calories of fat that I burned versus how many calories of carbohydrates I burned. If I want to lose fat, then what kind of fuel source should I be using? You got it. I should be using fat in my exercise. It turns out that when I did my 100 burpee test on myself, I burned about 30% of my calories from fat and 70% of my calories from carbohydrates. What does that mean? Well, 30% of 600 is 180 calories. So if I did 1 hour of burpees, that's 180 calories of fat that I burned, which makes things even more bleak. If I wanted to lose 1 pound of fat by doing burpees continuously this week, then I would have to do 20 hours of burpees to burn the equivalent of 1 pound of fat. Not only would I rather die a horrible death in a tank of sharks, but it's likely that even if I did burn a pound of fat by doing 20 hours of burpees, my joints would be angry at me, and I would also think of many other things I could rather be doing than 20 hours of a terrible exercise. So what's your point, Alex? Exercise doesn't burn enough calories so that I can't lose the fat that I'd like to lose? Well, actually, yeah. Long-term, exercise is a terrible strategy in order to lose the fat you want to lose, unless you're committed to doing very regular exercise in a way that helps you burn fat as a fuel source, and you've got your sights set on a very long-term goal. The truth of the matter is, if exercise does help you lose fat, it's not because you're kicking your butt and burning a ridiculous amount of calories. But what about being more active, Alex? I heard that if I got more steps in a day, I would burn more calories and that would help me lose fat. While that's true in the short term, studies actually show that people who regularly get between 20 and 30,000 steps per day actually lower their resting metabolic rate over time because their body gets more and more efficient at using fewer and fewer calories to keep up the activity. There are a number of other reasons that you should be active every single day, but your calorie burn is definitely not one of them long term. Well, thanks for dashing my hopes and dreams with regard to exercise on the calories outside of the equation, Alex. Do you have any good news for me? Yes, I do. And just like the nutrition portion, changing from the idea of garbage in, garbage out, to building a house out of amazing material, your exercise has deeper implications than just the calories that are burned. So the number 2 thing you need to know to understand your exercise beyond calories is this. The power of exercise is in its ability to affect you as deeply as your DNA. Now, I've talked about this concept on the show in a number of different ways, primarily by saying, look, we don't exercise to burn calories around here. We exercise with specific acute variables in order to adapt you. In other words, there's a way to exercise that makes you more flexible. There's a way to exercise that makes your tendons and ligaments more dense. There's a way to exercise that makes you more agile and powerful. There's a way to exercise to increase the size of your muscle tissue and increase the strength of your lifts. There's even a way to exercise to increase the amount of mitochondria that you have in your body in order to burn more calories on the regular basis and to produce more ATP so that you're more energetic. And while I'm on a roll here, there are even different ways to exercise that boost different hormonal outputs. Like testosterone goes up in relation to heavy strength training for 30 to 60 minutes, where insulin sensitivity increases in bouts of high-intensity interval training, or even low-intensity steady-state training. In short, we don't exercise in order to increase the energy expended by our body. Instead, we exercise to change our body fundamentally. And so I've talked about that in the show in a number of episodes. If you're really interested in the science regarding how to change your workout in order to get certain adaptations out of yourself, I dive into that very specifically in a series called Unlocking Your Workout's Full Potential, episodes 12 and 21, and I dive into the cardiovascular side of those things in episode 18. But what I haven't talked about on the show is at what level those adaptations actually occur. I've said before that hypertrophy training, that is 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions at a rate of perceived exertion of a 7 out of 10 for 60 to 90 minutes will elevate testosterone and increase the size of your muscle mass. But what I haven't said on the show, at least not all at once, is how your body goes about making those changes and why they stick. So here it is. Exercise is a stressor. Stressors require biological cells to adapt appropriately. Biological cells adapt by turning on certain portions of your DNA code to code for new proteins to be produced. And so fundamentally, we don't exercise to burn calories. We don't even exercise to change aspects of our body. We exercise to unlock different parts of our own DNA. And if you're hell-bent on building an awesome version of you, then that's worth locking yourself in a dark room and rocking back and forth while you think about for a few hours. You only have to do that if you want to, though, because I've already done that hard work for you, and I'm willing to tell you what I've derived from that. If this is true, if this is the right way to think about exercise, and the most modern research is pointing yes in that direction, then in the last 30 years of us trying to burn calories with exercise, we've missed a very important fundamental boat. And that's this. You have a blueprint inside of every single one of your cells that codes for you as a person, different from everybody else. And one of the ways that you can unlock your full potential hidden deep inside every single one of your blueprints in your cells is by exercising in ways that your body hasn't experienced before. Wait a second, Alex. If that's true, how did I get here? How did I get to a point where I'm interested in hearing some guy talk about how our nutrition and exercise is beyond calories, and me being in a place where I have more fat on my body than I'd like to have, or a little less strength, or a little less muscle tone than I'd like to have? I've exercised in my life. Perhaps I've even unlocked those pieces of my DNA. Why am I still not the beast that I hope to construct? I hear you, man. Here's the kicker. It works in both directions. If you exercise in a way to turn on certain portions of your DNA, to be a more muscular version of yourself, to have more mitochondria and more endurance, to have better agility, more power, increased core stability, and better proprioception, that's one thing. But there are ways that you can live that shut off different portions of your DNA, that tell your body, hey, you don't need this much testosterone right now. Or yeah, go ahead, pack on the belly fat. This guy's not going for a run anytime soon. And so you're left with a question with regard to your blueprint. What changes can I make right now that will unlock better in me? And just like the nutrition question, when deciding what materials you're going to build your house out of, this sort of question might require some professional help, because just as we've found in the past 30 years with this calorie equation, more exercise might not be the answer. If you haven't been doing anything lately, then sure, some exercise is better than nothing. But if you've already been doing 30 minutes of cardio here and there, and lifting some weights here and there, doing more of those things might not actually unlock anything else in your DNA. Could actually go in the negative direction. If you add more stress, more volume to the day that you're already having, in addition to not sleeping well, having stuff going on with the kids, being intensely taxed at work, you might actually unlock a portion of your DNA that lowers your resting metabolism, increases your risk of injury, and collects more fat around the midsection. And so just like nutrition, quality exercise is a difficult question, and understanding how to best program design for yourself, and how to create the adaptations and the building blocks that are going to allow you to unlock the best in you is definitely not easy, which is one of the reasons I do what I do. And just like with the nutrition piece, if you need some help with this, please reach out. But regardless of what you do with your nutrition and your exercise, one thing is certain. It's time for us to evolve past the energy expenditure equation. It's amazing that we've gotten to a point in human history where we can not only measure the caloric expenditure of our food, but we can even make choices about what it is that we're putting into our body to get those calories. Now that we've gotten to this point, it's time to evolve our thinking. Your food is more than calories. It's more than the energy in on the energy balance equation. Your food is literally the building blocks, the bricks, the wood, the mortar, the hardware that you're building a new you out of in the next 3 to 7 years. Every time you put something in your face, you're shaping a new cell. And the question is, do you want to build yourself out of that? And with the calories outside of the equation, your exercise is so much more than the calories that you burn. Not only is it nearly physically impossible to exercise so much that you can burn all the fat off you'd like to burn, but if the energy expenditure of your exercise is the only thing you're focusing on, then you're missing out on the opportunity to unlock parts of yourself that you didn't know were there. Exercise is a stressor. Stressors challenge biological cells to adapt. Adaptations come from changes in unlocking different parts of the blueprint in DNA, and those changes can stick around for a while. So that's Beyond Calories Part 1. We're going to get to Beyond Calories Part 2 and talk about some of the fundamental obstacles and challenges to actually even counting your calories, and how the formula breaks down even at the level of being unable to accurately count our energy expenditure in and out. But here in this episode, I hope that I've challenged you today to think about the house you're building, the quality of the materials that you're using, the choices that you make every single day when you're faced with the question of what to snack on, what to buy for groceries, where to stop for dinner. And on the other side of the equation, that I've challenged you to take a good, long, hard look at your workout program. Maybe it's time to just get started, or maybe it's time to change the things that you've been doing over and over and over again, because what got you here won't get you there. If you're currently working to go beyond the energy balance equation in your own health and fitness program, I'd love to be a part of that. You can reach out personally at coachal@definingdadbod.com. Or if you're ready to jump in head first, you can find a link to my virtual trial at definingdadbod.com/trial. And lastly, if you live in the Conway/Greenbrier, Arkansas area, you're one of the lucky people who I can actually torture in person. And you can find a link for your free evaluation at definingdadbod.com/training. Thank you so much for tuning into this show. Thank you for being a part of the tribe of people who understand that your body is more than the sum total of calories that you've eaten versus the sum total of calories that you've burned. I'm excited for you to unlock the best blueprint of yourself, forged through intentional, intelligent exercise that's built out of the best quality building material that you could get your hands on. God only knows who you could be if you could become 1% better every single day. This has been Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. Until next time, guys, kick butt, take names. The free practical advice and conversations here remain unbought and unbiased thanks to the support of listeners just like you. For more information on how you can become a part of the inner circle of Defining Dad Bod, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle.